Hi, my name's Tammy, and I want to talk a little bit about something that I hadn't really thought about for a little while, but I realized after a conversation yesterday that people often don't consider that getting a call that tells you your parent is in the hospital is actually a positive thing in some cases. And my perspective around that is with parents that hoard. And there was a time when I got the call that said my father had been taken to the hospital. And it might sound really counterintuitive, but if your parent or a loved one is living in a hoarded situation where they can barely get through the little goat path in their home to get to the bathroom, where their living is confined to maybe a recliner, where they can't cook because there's too much stuff on the countertops, and where they may be having falling issues or tripping issues, and their health might really be declining. And unfortunately, you can't always intervene before there's a crisis. It just, they won't allow it. And so there are times when, excuse me, when getting that call is such a sense of relief if your parent or your loved one is in such a state of hoardville that there really isn't a good option for them to remain in the home. And so I would like to just thank the excuse me, the EMS folks, the first responders, firefighters, police, um, people that come into those situations and pull someone out. And usually those people are required to report what they see, as far as the living circumstances and things like that. And I personally know that it can be shocking to walk into a situation where you weren't expecting it. And I'm just very grateful that someone did help get my dad out of there, and someone did have the wherewithal to say, "Hey, we saw this situation, and this gentleman really can't go back." Of course, I don't know the details of what they reported, but I believe and I know that because they took that step, my dad had 3 more years. And while he may not have liked being in a nursing facility, his quality of life was greatly improved by taking his medication regularly, being an environment where he got a bath and regular meals, and his medication that he had been refusing. And so there were a lot of positives that came about, even though he would have preferred to stay in his little recliner goat path situation. His care needs were too great, and he had to actually be transitioned to another situation. But it wasn't until there was a crisis that an intervention essentially occurred, without any guidance from me. I had already been involved before that and couldn't really make any progress to improve their situation. And so at that point, when he did move to the nursing facility, there was an increase in his quality of life, otherwise known as QOL. So if you hear of someone who might have been in a really bad living situation, and you hear someone like me say how grateful they are that they got the call that their parent was placed in a hospital, know that for us, that's coming from a good place, because we have often already tried and not been able to intervene. And there was a great deal of relief for me as the kid knowing that someone else had seen that situation and someone else had been able to make movement occur for the betterment when I couldn't do it. And so there is a positive sometimes when a crisis happens, because in hoarding, it seems like nothing really happens until there is a crisis. I aim to change that. We need to be talking about it and addressing it way before it becomes a crisis. But my thoughts today are just around the fact that there are times when it's a positive that your parent is removed from the home and hospitalized and subsequently placed in a facility where their needs can be better met. So that's my thoughts on that. Thanks for dropping by, and I hope you have a great night.